Oh.
Hello everyone, welcome back. So what happened? Why didn't Shadow start this morning? Something like this happened previously to my Toyota Tacoma. Although the dash lit up like a Christmas tree, I knew that the battery had been drained. Because on my Toyota Tacoma, something very similar happened previously, and all I had to do was give it a jump start. So you may be asking yourself, what did I do to have the battery drain? So Katie and I went to Florida to go to a Christmas party for her company just recently, and we went for about 5 days. So the truck wasn't inactive, but it did have a few things hooked up to the main battery that did trickle the power slowly. The first thing was the trigger controller, but I know for a fact that the trigger controller does not draw much amps from the battery because there is nothing really that turns on except the radio device that's attached to it, and that is definitely not enough to drain the battery in a matter of 5 days. Now previously on my Toyota Tacoma, when the battery did drain, it was because of the dash cam. So the dash cam I have in my Toyota Tundra is a dash cam that's hooked up directly to the battery that is on parking mode, which means whenever there is anything that creates movement in front of the truck, or if there's movement to the G sensor to the truck itself, like if someone hits it or moves it, then the camera activates and records. Now because there was a lot of activity in front of my truck where I park, it did drain the battery enough to kill the battery. I do want to add that the Toyota stock battery that comes with this Tundra is not the best of batteries. Now I was curious about the Toyota battery, so I did try to do some research on it and try to find out what kind of battery it is, and couldn't really find much information on the stock battery for some reason. Now there are some people who have had the battery drained and have decided to just take it to the dealership to have the warranty coverage, if it is covered under warranty, to have them replace it so that they can drive it out. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you've accidentally drained it because you left the light on overnight, and that is not something you commonly do, then yeah, I mean, replacing it via warranty is absolutely fine. But in my case, I do know that I definitely want to keep my dash camera hooked up to the battery all the time, despite whether I'm away on a trip or at home parked for a number of days. So what I had to do was I had to look for the alternate route, which is getting a better battery with higher capacity and better performance. So the one I got was the Northstar X2 Power AGM battery. Now AGM stands for Absorbed Glass Mat. Now they're built so that they can better withstand repeated draining and recharging cycles compared to the standard batteries, which means they'll last a longer time. And if in a situation where you do drain the battery completely for whatever reason, when you do recharge them, they're able to hold a greater capacity of power and still last a longer amount of time. Now if you do have a vehicle or a rig that demands more power, then this is definitely an option that you may want to consider as a safeguard and peace of mind, so that you are constantly with sufficient starting power for your vehicle. Now with that said, there are a couple of caveats to that you may want to consider as well. One is that it is definitely a much more expensive battery because of the capacity and performance. The stock battery you can get from a dealership for between $100 to $150. And the cool thing about this is that this is a dual purpose battery, which means it delivers the performance of two batteries in one, which is the starting and the deep cycle battery. And this AGM battery came in at almost 70 pounds. Which is relatively heavier than the stock battery, which comes in between 40 to 50 pounds. So hopefully this is sufficient for my rig setup so far. I did post a preview of this on Instagram, and I did get some messages saying that maybe I should look into a dual battery setup. And that is definitely something I am going to entertain down the line as I start to add more things to the rig as I see fit. For example, if I do end up going with the fridge, I'll probably need to hook that up to a dual battery, add solar and all that, but all of that just costs so much more extra money that I don't need to. It's not an absolute necessity at this point in time. So, but in regards to this situation, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put it in the comment section below. I'll put a link to some of the batteries that I was looking into, and ultimately the battery that I picked up down in the description as well. I hope you found this somewhat informative. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. It's all good. But I want to thank you guys for watching. So be safe, take care, and I'll see you next time.